It used to be not that long ago, just a few years ago, that yoga was like a luxury product, that spiritual work, spiritual training, things like coaching with a spiritual teacher, that the kind of work that I do was something that people could add on to their lives if they had everything else together. If times weren't too tough, the money was flowing, if everything else was okay, then yes, let's add a little yoga to the mix. It makes everything better. And it does, and it did. We're not in those times anymore. And I have to constantly look at what it is that I offer in my teachings. I do courses, I do private lessons for people, just one-off. I do longer term individual mentorship programs with people. I lead retreats. I bring people to India. I do long trainings like our 9-month advanced training. And when I look at all of these things and look at things like this video that I'm offering also, I have to think about, what do people need when the shit hits the fan? What is the spirituality that is not the luxury spirituality? Because if it's a luxury, then we have to let go of it in times of austerity. And this is what has happened. I don't know if you've noticed, but like, people have stopped practicing. A few years ago, maybe during the Obama era, there was a huge yoga boom. And everyone was doing yoga. Everyone was opening up yoga studios. Everyone was doing yoga teacher trainings. We aren't in those times anymore. We're in times of great fear and loathing in many ways. We're in times of great uncertainty and economic insecurity also. I don't know about you, but many of the people that I talk to, they don't have the kind of disposable money that they had a few years ago. For me, this stuff is not, they're not products, these courses and trainings and mentorships, and they're not products, they're tradition. They're these treasures, they're these powers that I was gifted by my teachers, and then I've practiced, and then I pass them on to people that want to learn them. And so I've been really interested recently in Bhakti Yoga. And, in our Mahayoga tradition, we pull from everything. We pull from Bhakti, we pull from Jnana Yoga, we pull from Hatha Yoga, we pull from Kundalini, Mahayoga, we pull from, Karma Yoga, all of it. But I've been really thinking about Bhakti Yoga a lot, because Bhakti Yoga is the practice that, people have done traditionally during hard times. And that means like hard times in the collective, famines and wars and genocides, and hard times personally. Some of the other yogas you had to be very qualified to be trained in. You had to come from a good family. You had to adhere to rigorous discipline and take certain vows and learn all these preliminary practices before you could be initiated into the deeper, higher practices. This isn't that kind of time. Bhakti yoga is a it's a yoga that can be done by anyone with a deep longing and a willingness to be authentic, a willingness to serve. That's part of it, is you need to have an attitude of service towards your life, but also a willingness to be humble, a willingness to really look at, okay, this is where I'm at. I really need this divine connection. I'm lost without it. My life is too hard to face alone. I need the help of the divine. I need the practices. I need the teachings. And I will bring them in to my whole thing. I will bring them into my parenting. I will bring them into my work. I will bring them into my relationships. I will bring them into my relationship with my body when I'm healthy and when I'm sick, in sickness and in health, for richer and poorer. Bhakti, you see, it's really like, it's not a date. It's definitely not a fling. Bhakti is a long-term relationship with the divine beloved, whatever that is for you. The other cool thing about bhakti is that you have to be really honest about what your divine beloved is, and you get to choose. Nobody tells you, oh, God is Krishna, or God is the goddess, or God is something else. It's all about authenticity. And so every individual has their own very individual relationship with the Supreme. This is even in the Bhakti teachings. It's called Nija Shakti. Nija Shakti is it's the power of God to manifest themselves into infinite forms, to meet the needs of infinite followers. It's very, very deep and very cool. That's why even, within a community where everyone kind of is following the same thing, everyone is following something a little bit different. In some religions and even some yoga communities, there's this push to become conformist and to root that out. And so everyone is doing the same thing. In Bhakti Yoga, in the real Bhakti Yoga, that's not the case. We come together, there's a common denominator, but the common denominator is our devotion. The common denominator is our longing. The common denominator is our God-sized hole in our being that won't be filled by anything else. That's our common denominator. What comes into that hole and just the exact shape of our hole compared to our neighbors, that's something else. And I think that that is a wonderful aspect of the practice. I don't think that that makes it harder. I also don't think that it makes it into this thing that just like anything goes. Bhakti Yoga has gotten this reputation, over these years of just being like the party yoga, Bhakti Fest, or, chanting, kirtan, joyous celebrations and all of that. That's part of it, but there can be. But we chant out of joy, and sometimes there's ecstasy. But there's not going to be joy and ecstasy for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. There's going to be moments of joy and ecstasy, and there's going to be moments of deep sorrow and grief and death and failure and all of it. What is the yoga that can have all of that? What is the chanting practice that we learn, that we chant, on our best day and on our worst day and on the days that are in between? For instance, chanting. But meditation is a part of bhakti practice. Studying sacred teachings is a part of bhakti practice. But one of the main aspects of bhakti, and this is something that I don't hear taught about very much. I'm sure others are teaching about this. I don't hear it very much. Is the dedication of everything in our life to the highest. Part of that is an orientation. So everything in our life becomes oriented towards the highest. That's part of it. But the other part of it is this dedication, this sacrifice of everything. So that the successes and triumphs and victories that we have in our life, they just take us closer, because wow, we are so blessed. Like, yes, thank you for this. But then we don't abandon it when we go into the failures. We don't abandon it when we go into the deaths and those underworld cycles either. In those moments, we're like, I offer this to you too. I offer you my pain. I offer you my confusion. What happens in this other in the other thing, the Obama era yoga, I keep calling it, is it's like if things get really good, we're like, oh, I don't need transformation. Everything's really sweet. If they're really good, then I lose it. And at the same time, if things are really bad, it's like, I don't have time to chant God's name right now. I don't have time to meditate. I have this crisis in my life. Do you think things are going to get easier? What does your astrologer say? What does the climate scientists say? What do the people that study political science, what do they say? Do you think things are going to get easier? They could. We don't know. But there's a really good chance that things are not going to get easier. And if anything, things might get much, much, much harder in the collective. What is the practice that we cultivate now that holds us in that? What is the community that we cultivate now that helps to weather that? Community is a big aspect of Bhakti Yoga. And it's another one of these things that has gone by the wayside over the years of Zoom, meetings. I do my trainings and courses over Zoom still. It's a great technology, but we also try to make a point to meet up in person from time to time, because it's important to have community. It's important to actually be around each other. It's important to be in relationship with each other and practicing the teachings. What is that community that you need, that you can cultivate now, that you're going to want to lean on when things get harder? What is the community that you need to cultivate now that you can gift with your gifts, with your superpowers? All of this is part of it. Bhakti Yoga, while it has this individual quality that we were talking about, the Nija Shakti, that individual expression of the divine in our relationship with the divine, it also has this community aspect to it where, we're not alone, we're together with others. But there's this very special thing about it where we never have to be without love again. We never have to feel like we're just a human being on our own without love. Because it doesn't matter. You can be in a relationship, you can be in a family that love you so much, and there's still something about the way that our human heart is made that will put us into those cycles where we feel that way. With Bhakti Yoga, you're developing this relationship with the highest in such a way that you never feel totally alone. And that alone is totally worth it from my point of view. If this is helpful, let me know. If you would like to go deeper into this work, you can look in and see if we have retreats coming up or an advanced training coming up. I do them every year. If you want to reach out to me, we can also talk about doing some work one-on-one together. That's a lot of what I do with people, is I work in these 3-6 month containers of transformation and mentorship. And in some cases, we study sacred texts. In some cases, we're helping you through a period in your life that you need help with, or you're just like trying to establish your practice in a deeper way or do some healing. You can reach out about that. But let us know, and definitely reach out and keep coming back here. We're going to try to make these messages more often. And let us know if there's any topics that you would like to hear me teach on, and we will see if we can do it. Okay, friends. Love to you for now.